Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. This session is being recorded. Today is Thursday, May 6th, 2021, and we are gathered together to support a new ILTA feature called Ask the Expert. Today's topic on Ask the Expert is carrots, not sticks, how to create a learning culture at your organization. I am very pleased to have on this panel three esteemed friends and colleagues who will help us navigate the subject. The challenge that we will be discussing is that sometimes it's very hard for law firm technology trainers to motivate their people to participate in learning. One of the solutions is how to create partnerships and consensus in your law firm, which will allow space for truly creating a learning culture at your firm. The setting for this gathering will be the following. I will introduce our panel in a moment, and we will allow each of them to discuss for 5 to 10 minutes their firm and their role, and some of the ways in which they have been able to create training opportunities that actually work. Today's session is meant to be somewhat interactive. I ask that you think of questions to ask our panel and drop those into the question panel in GoToWebinar. Along with me is Jan Lee, Savvy's marketing manager, who will help make sure we get your questions answered and comments responded to. We have until the top of the hour, and I think we will have some great takeaways for you. First, a few housekeeping items. The settings in this GoToWebinar should be that the audience is on mute with cameras off. The panel and I have our cameras on, and we will not be showing anything off our desktops. So, if you need to resize your screen to see us, please do so. Again, we will be monitoring the question panel, and we encourage you to ask questions. My name is Doug Stryker, CEO of Savvy Training, and I will be your moderator today. With me is Christine Becker, training specialist at the law firm of MLT Aikens, LLP in Canada. Her team looks after onboarding of all new staff, training for current staff to upgrade their skills, and assist on operations projects for the firm to ensure that decisions are made with the front-end user's perspective in mind. Next is Mary Lynn Fritz from Burns White, whose main office is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Mary Lynn is a business analyst and trainer. Last but certainly not least is Letty Schrockengost, the Learning and Development Coordinator at Goldberg & Osborne in Phoenix, Arizona. Letty was initially technical trainer and has since moved into the learning and development role. Now that we have made our formal introductions, let's get on with the show. Christine, you have the floor. Would you please let us know some history of you, your role, and what's happening with training at MLT Aikens? But I cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now? Good. Hi. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for having me on this panel today, the Canadian amongst the group. I'll try not to say sorry too many times in my talking with you today. But yes, I come from MLT Aikens. We are Western Canada's law firm. So our firm covers 4 provinces, the 4 Western provinces of Canada, and we have offices in 6 major cities. So that also means we cover 3 time zones. So as you can imagine, as a training specialist there, coordinating events and training can be very challenging. So any presentation that we put together logistically has to work for every office, and it has to provide value for everyone in our firm, not just a particular city or a particular practice area. So of course, that's always fun. And every city, every office, they like to do things just a little differently from each other. And it's my job to know everything that's going on and how I can best direct a new hire, no matter what city they're in or what position it's for, despite where they might be physically located and where I might be physically located. So how have we done this? How are we surviving in this crazy COVID times? Well, communication is priority. So that means me, and when I say mean, I actually mean my entire team because I work with amazing people at my firm, but we have to take the initiative ourselves to have constant check-ins with each office manager at every city. And we have to do this in advance. So as soon as we know there's a new hire, or if there's someone returning from a leave, we have to be on top of that and we have to initiate communication. And as well amongst my team, I mentioned I have a great team. We have daily check-in calls every day. We're all virtual, but we have to make sure that us as a team are on the same page and we are giving everyone the same message to our new hires and anybody that we're training as things come up in our day. And I have to say at our firm, our human resources department has created a really great plan. It's called an independent development plan, and it's for each staff member, and they work with them independently to choose goals every year that these employees, all of us, want to accomplish. And this independent development plan is actually connected to their bonus and compensation structure at our firm. So there's incentive for those employees to get on board with these goals, accomplish their goals, and work with us. So then as training specialists, we make sure that we're very closely connected to HR and all of those office managers so that we have a general idea of what those goals people have picked. Usually people pick a goal that revolves around learning something new or improving on a piece of software. And that's where we can come in. We can help them accomplish their goals. And so we do this, we make sure we're using technology to our advantage. Obviously, people don't want to just hear me talk for hours about some software and click here and do this, but they want to get using the software right away themselves. So we provide test environments for software so people can get in and play when they can't cause any damage or do any harm. And we let them, make mistakes in the test environment first before going live with actual client work. And we make sure that from day one, any existing staff are also looked after. So that means not just focusing on new hires that are coming into our firm, but every month we are ensuring that there's content put on for existing staff to help them develop their current skills and make sure that we are doing so like you mentioned, Doug, from that front-end user's perspective. We're design our training specifically so it relates to them and how they do their job. So it involves mixing up our programs, changing things up. So sometimes it's covering things in person with a one-on-one session, but sometimes it means watching videos. We record videos. We assign them little exercises to practice, and then we have to have them give them time to work on things independently to be learning those new skills on their own, and then check in with us and review it and make sure they got it. So all of this to say, we are very busy at our firm and we have a really great learning environment.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Christine. Thank you. I think we'll dig into some of that a little bit more, but I appreciate that insight for now. Thank you. Mary Lynn, may we please hear from you?
Hello, everyone. I'm Mary Lynn Fritz, and I am the business analyst and trainer at Burns White. We're in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We have offices in Philadelphia and Wheeling, Cherry Hill, number of offices, but our main office is in Pittsburgh. We moved out to this beautiful location about 5 years ago, about 30 minutes from town, 30-minute walk from town. We're right on the river. I believe you've been to our office, right, Doug?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, it's very nice. And if anybody gets to Pittsburgh, I'd love to show you around. Excuse me. So I wear many different hats at our firm. I do all of the new employee training, ongoing training. I help with software rollouts. I assist the help desk with questions about software. I create e-learning videos and documentation. And I really seriously love my job. My young adult children do not get that. They don't understand how I could love my job, but I really do. So Doug asked me if I had used any incentive programs to get people into training along my career. And I did use one program that I'm going to talk about. It was at a prior law firm, but I still think it has value to this panel and what we're talking about today. So this program was called the Desktop Application Certification Program. Of course, we have to have an acronym for that, so we called it the DAC program. And it was originally set up for legal assistants in the firm, but it can easily be adapted to paralegals and attorneys. And we concentrated on 3 programs: Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. You could certainly add Outlook, you could add your document management system, whatever you thought was appropriate, but we concentrated on those 3 programs. And we had 3 levels for each program. We had a beginning, intermediate, and advanced, and we called that the bronze, the silver, and the gold levels in that program. So I had to define each level and what skills you had to attain for each level. And you achieve those skills by either coming to classroom training, which I conducted, or you could also take e-learning training if you wanted to. We did use the Savvy e-learning program, which I absolutely love. The thing about Savvy is you have the e-learning modules, you have reference guides that users can print. If they wanted to, you have exercises that the user could pull up and follow along while they're watching e-learning. So it's really a great system, and there's quizzes also. And you know, I love Savvy, they're great. So they could do the e-learning or they could come to classroom training, either way. So for each participant, each legal assistant, I had a spreadsheet. Back then I didn't have a learning management system, so I tracked it all manually, but I had a spreadsheet for each person. I marked off their skills. They could open up that spreadsheet anytime they wanted and see where they were, what level they were at, and so forth. So if they achieved a level, then they got a certificate. And when I printed the certificates, I printed on really pretty paper that had the bronze border or the silver or the gold border. And it was nice because if I would go to their desk to help them with something, there would be those certificates. They were super proud of earning them. So that was really nice too. So if they received or if they achieved gold level on all 3 of those programs, something nice happened for them. First of all, they were issued a really nice clock, a desk clock that they could put on their desk, and it was engraved with their name, and it said Gold Level Achiever. And again, when you would go to help them, there would be that clock. They would be so proud of that clock. And then once a year, everybody that achieved that level, we were able to go to a luncheon together and that the firm paid for, and we had a nice lunch, and everybody had a ticket that their names were put in a hat, and if your name was pulled, you won a getaway weekend for 2 at a place called Terra. So Terra is not far from Pittsburgh. It's a big old country inn, and it's set up like Gone with the Wind, if you've ever seen the movie or read the book. And it has different rooms. One room is called Miss Melanie's room, Rhett Butler's room, Fiddly Dee Dee, and the one that I love the best is I'll Think About It Tomorrow. Love that saying. So somebody won a Friday and Saturday stay for themselves and somebody else, and so that was just awesome, really. So we had about 8 people that participated the first year as far as going to that luncheon. The second year we had about 15. And if you achieved the level the previous year, you could still go to the luncheon and be eligible for the drawing. So it was a great program. The legal assistants loved it. They felt like the firm valued them, that they would spend this money on them. and give them the time to go to training and learn these skills. HR wanted to know who was doing what, because that factored into, like Christine said, their raises, their bonuses, and so forth. So, you know, they had incentive to do it. So again, I think it's a program that could be used easily for not only legal assistants, but paralegals, attorneys, whomever you think is fit. So anyhow, that was my incentive program. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mary Lynn. Real quick, could you please repeat the name of that Gone with the Wind getaway location?
It's called Tara, T-A-R-A, and it's in Sharon, PA. Yeah, what you thinking about going, Doug?
I am watching the question panel, and that was one of the questions. So I think
okay.
up some ideas already. I like that.
Okay.
Yes. That was awesome. I think in a bit we might want to circle back and talk about the scalability of the program beyond just the LAs and how to, scale the incentive program to, even billable, paralegals and attorneys. So I'm curious about that. But for now, thank you very much, Mary Lynn.
Sure.
Letty, may we please hear from you?
Yes, thank you, Doug. Hi, everyone. My name is Letty Schrockengost, and I'm the Learning and Development Coordinator at Goldberg & Osborne. Thanks so much for the opportunity to be here. ILTA is such an amazing community, and I'm so happy to be a part of it. And on the topic of learning incentives, I'd like to kind of go over our program called Eagle Bucks that we've set up at our firm. So Eagle Bucks is a reward system that we have developed that rewards employees for taking a non-required training on our LMS, which we have branded called G&O University. And we track course completions and their learning activity all through the LMS. We can get really detailed with reports and drill down into their learning activity. And we track their course completions, and for every course completion or passed, they receive a certain amount of Eagle Bucks. And then this translates, once they obtain a certain amount of Eagle Bucks, they can get a bonus to their paycheck. So we've partnered with HR to set that up and gotten everyone on board with that. So that's been really exciting. A couple more details about that is that our non-required training includes the Microsoft Office, Power PDF, and then we've also expanded it to our security awareness training that we've gotten through KnowBe4. You might have heard of KnowBe4. It's a fantastic security awareness vendor, so we're really happy about that. And so when people first come onto the firm, we enroll them in a learning path via the LMS for each of those topics, Office, PDF, and security awareness, so that they have a place to start, a place to hit the ground running, and some structure to get started. And so we have a couple of groups in our firm that's eligible. So most everyone at the firm is eligible for this program. Our client care advocates, our client service representatives, people in different departments, even accounting and everything. And the only people who are not eligible are just kind of like our top administrators and the attorneys. So employees can go on our LMS whenever they have downtime at their positions, or they can also log into the LMS from outside of the firm. So when they're at home, they can go in and take training outside of work hours. And then we go ahead and we update people on their Eagle Bucks balances every month, and we announce to the firm who has received the bonus and who's participating in that continuous learning. And so the reason we kind of came up with this in the first place was to incentivize continuous learning of our software applications. And we looked at employee skills and kind of did a gap analysis, and we wanted to go ahead and encourage them to develop their skills beyond their daily functions and to grow and expand their skills. And so during that time when we were coming up with everything during the program inception, we met with stakeholders across different departments of our firm. So we brought in the executive district administrators, managing attorney, HR director, myself, and our IT director. So we kind of had everybody on board and inputting, their opinions and perspectives into that. We had HR and the business admins bring up some concerns that they wanted to address. So those kind of concerns included like work versus training balance, the time spent in each and making sure it was balanced enough, and then also the bonus amount. So we collaborated and we deliberated on that, and we arrived at figures that we all agreed upon. So really buy-in was from all those stakeholders was a really important and I would say crucial aspect of starting the program, implementing it, and then continuing with rolling it. It's kind of like wheels in a car, they being in place, to keep everything rolling along. And a couple of our program measurements that we've had. So when we first started out with the program, we had participation in kind of non-required training at about 150 courses. And then about a year after we had implemented, it went up to about 600. So we had a lot more activity on the LMS as far as continuous learning and especially Microsoft Office. So we saw a lot more engagement with that. And then we also saw more self-directed learning on our LMS. So with the course reports that's possible through that, which we really, really like and appreciate, we can see if employees are enrolling themselves in courses versus people like LMS administrators enrolling them in courses. So they're going on to the catalog, they're exploring the courses, and they are going in and getting that. So we saw that about triple after we first implemented the program. So we were really happy to see that as well. And we talked to several employees about the program, and we got some nice feedback. We said that they said that it was a great incentive for them to go on to GNO University and get the courses done. And also EagleBucks played a factor in knowing that they could go on there and complete more courses. And then after receiving a bonus, we had one employee, she said, "Oh, thank you so much. I'm going to keep continuing to learn as much as I can on here." So we found that it was a motivator for them. And that's kind of a quick overview of our program, and I just like to leave you with a couple of quotes that I thought would be really helpful in thinking about learning incentives as well as learning culture at your firm. It's from the book called Atomic Habits by James Clear, and kind of along the incentives, he said, once we fit in, we start looking for ways to stand out. So I thought that might be helpful in thinking about how does your firm recognize learning achievements? And then with culture, this is kind of more generic culture related, but another quote he had was, "We tend to imitate the habits of 3 social groups: the close, the many, and the powerful." So I thought this was helpful in kind of reflecting about, okay, so how do the people close to everyone and the most people and the powerful at your firm treat and promote learning? So if you're thinking about an employee, how do the people that sit around that employee all day, every day, how do they interact with learning? And then the many, how do most people engage with learning? And also the powerful, that would be, obviously our administrators, our office managers, our partners and attorneys, and so on. How do they promote learning for other people throughout your firm? So thank you. That was my part on that, and I can pass it back to Doug.
Wow, I mean, that is really amazing, Letty, and the three of you. I appreciate that, and I can tell our audience does as well appreciate your insight. In order to keep it fair, there are some questions in the panel, and I'll go through those. I'm going to go, I guess, I'll just go through the list. I did have one question. Has anyone correlated analytically the amount of money that you're spending on the incentives to productivity gain through training, right? Is there a hard calculation there, or is it a feel thing? I guess, Letty, since you with the EagleBucks, I'll quickly go with you on that. Do you know, like, percentage increase in productivity through training and the investment in the Eagle Bucks, along with all the human aspects?
Yes, absolutely. So that's actually something we're working on drilling down currently as well. We know that, for example, our security awareness, people are becoming a lot more security aware, and through our phishing simulations, that has improved a lot through, and also basically promoting people to go on and take the security awareness courses and also earning their Eagle Bucks through that. And we've seen a great increase in being phishing resistant, I guess you can say. And so, every time an employee, and we've had a couple of instances where employees were able to report those phishing attacks based on their training. And so every time an employee can do that and avoid a very costly phishing attack with the firm, we think it's absolutely worth it. But yeah, drilling down to the dollar per dollar ROI for that, that's something we're excited to report on.
Cool. Thank you for that answer. I appreciate it. Let's see. Here's a good one. Well, they're all good ones. How do you get buy-in from the powers that be to allow timekeepers to train? And Christine, we haven't heard from you in a little bit. Let's go with you if you want.
Well, I think that's an excellent question, because we know it's hard to get buy-in. Lawyers, we love them, but sometimes they don't love change, and they don't actually realize how much time it takes to learn something new. So they think just go for a training session for 30 minutes and they've got it in 30 minutes. So yes, 100%, you really have to work at that. And you know what, it also resonates around building trust and trying to maintain that trust with the powers that be, whether it's management, operations, human resources, the lawyers, all your various managers. And it definitely takes time, I'm not going to lie, and it takes consistency. So it takes consistency to execute, whether it's your onboarding plan and make sure you're consistent no matter what city somebody is in or what position it is, that they're all receiving the same experience, and then constantly checking in with the various management, or in my case, office managers, particularly within that person's first week, keeping everybody in the loop and so they know how things are going. And that once they start to see the results and then they buy in more, and then it's like a little ball that just gets bigger and bigger, snowball, and it starts to work. But it definitely goes back to that communication, building trust, and being agile to adjust as things are needed and as things come up.
I try to tell the attorneys too that there will be a learning curve sometimes, but if you let them take that step to do something a little differently and get over the hump, they're going to be so much more efficient, and it's going to be better for the firm in the long run. But if you could just give them that chance to go through that learning curve.
Thank you. Christine, I want to dig in a little deeper. Now, earlier you shared with us, the four of us, you shared how to build trust with office managers and learners. Do you feel like you want to share that experience a little bit with the group?
Sure. Yeah, there's a few experiences and stories I could share, but one I'll start with is being honest about someone's development. So that doesn't mean being negative, but that doesn't mean being overly positive either. It means being honest. And so the first few times when you have to say that someone maybe is struggling, that's not fun. That's not the best part of my job. But you know what? It really helps, because then that office manager figures out really quickly that what we said was probably accurate. When it comes time to them getting into their actual position and they're struggling, they learn to trust our word, and they realize that, you know what, we have that front-end user's perspective. We know, I've been in that job. I was a legal assistant to a paralegal for numerous years, so I know the work, and it allows them to be open for feedback, and then again, sometimes we need to make changes, and we, based on people's personalities, how they learn, but don't be afraid to speak up. I've learned that. Make a suggestion, even if it's something not in my realm, but maybe it's an assignment around the office. I have brought specific aspects to office managers' attention from that front-end user's perspective, and on numerous occasions, they would come back to me and say, "Oh, wow, I wouldn't have thought of that," or, "Oh, that's great to know," because honestly, they don't, and they want to know that information. They want to make good decisions. And so it's just, the key is to just be calm and respectful when doing it, and know ultimately they have the decision-making power. I don't, but it works really well, to that communication, that relationship you can build with them.
Thank you. Letty, real quick, the Eagle Bucks are a great incentive program. What about the people who aren't incentivized by that?
Yes, so we can, we also work directly with employees as well in encouraging them to go on and take a training that's more, let me back up and say, it's really important, not only providing the extrinsic incentive for the Eagle Bucks, but to also play into the intrinsic motivation to the employees. So basically relating the training to their job functions directly. So basically one way we've done that is to gather several courses that we've gotten from Savvy, and then also that we've built ourselves on like mail merge and styles, and working with the employee to promote to them, like, okay, this training is going to really help you become more efficient. And, if you learn how to do a mail merge, like, you're going to be so much more efficient, and it saves so much time on this document assembly or whatever you're working on. And so seeing that relationship, if they're not motivated by the Eagle Bucks, then seeing that ROI for them is going to be really helpful in motivating them.
Thank you. A follow-up question from one in the audience, and I guess it's relating to time and productivity. Has anyone made it mandatory that staff and or attorneys must do a certain amount of training every month or every year? Is there a fixed mandatory, amount of any kind of training that you've seen either in this firm or other firms?
Yeah, so we have kind of like our baseline kind of learning path, if you should say. When employees first start, they get automatically enrolled in some applications that we use through all staff. So basically everyone is required to go through that. That's mandatory, so everyone can get caught up to speed on those all staff applications, and then the attorneys can get familiar with that as well. And then that's something I would be excited to work on, as well as kind of building out that continuous, like Microsoft Office training, for example, that would be required. So we're not quite there yet, but we do have that kind of new hire baseline learning path that we have.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's see what we've got here. We've got this one, we've got this one. Let's see. Here's a good question. Mary Lynn, regarding the gold standard that you've set with the DAC program, the bronze, silver, and gold, the certificates, the amount of pride, once somebody has met the criteria to be at the gold standard, what systems or processes are in place to keep them at the gold system?
Yeah, so, if I were going to do that program again, I would probably do it through a learning management system. I would have different programs you could do for legal assistants, paralegals, and attorneys. And once they met that level, I think I would also offer some type of an analysis that they would have to take that to even say that they met those goals, other than just taking the classes. And so then beyond that, to keep them at that level, to keep challenging them to do more, you will have to be just creative in that, like, get them back every 6 months and, teach them a few other things that you never asked them to even learn before. Part of my job is a business analyst, so I work with these practice groups and try to figure out how they can do things more efficiently. And it might even be narrowed down to, paralegals in this particular practice group. This is really now what they need to do, and just keep building on those skills. You can never stop training. Things change all of the time. So that's one thing we can always count on. There's always more to show them and to have them, keeping their skills going.
Fantastic. Thank you. Let's see. I've got a very small screen in here. Okay, here's an interesting one. With the advanced users, right? The ones who are at that gold standard, things keep changing, we keep learning, there's new stuff, new programs. How do you keep the power users engaged year after year, right? Do we do the same training for them? How do you shift it up to make it more exciting and engaging, I guess is the question. Letty?
Oh yeah, I can relate a question to that, or should I say answer to that. So we have a handful of users and who are quite advanced and everything with their software skills. So one in particular, we have gone on and enabled her to help train others as well. So sharing your skills with someone is a very motivating thing, I think, in keeping your skills up to a certain par. So we found that is really helpful, and that employee finds a lot of satisfaction out of that.
Excellent. Thank you. Does anyone think you can do, just without this being self-serving, are any of these training programs capable of being done without a learning management system? Right, Mary Lynn, you did it on an Excel spreadsheet.
I did. I would not want to do that again. I mean, it's so much easier with the LMS because you can create those learning plans. You can see, how much they've done, up to a certain level. I don't know, and because I think we're all so much busier and we're tasked with so many more things to do, I think it would be very difficult not to do. I would think it would be very difficult to do that now without a learning management system. I do.
Christine, could you do this over 3 or 4 territories without technology, I guess?
No, technology is my best friend at this point, especially in a COVID world when we're all virtual. Now, I will say there's different ways to use technology, but ultimately it sort of always comes home to that learning management system. So that's why we're so grateful for our Savvy program, because it does make my life so much easier. There are other aspects you can use. Using, like today we're using GoToWebinar, but whether it's Microsoft Teams or Zoom, whatever aspect you use, you can get into breakout rooms with people. You can do training in different ways. We also implement for a really tough software, so Adorant, and then now we're doing a new one for iManage. We actually have weekly drop-in sessions for staff, so it's more designed for the existing staff, but it's the one I host is every Friday at 11 a.m. regardless. It's in everyone's calendar, and you just show up with a question. So whatever you've had in that software, an issue you've had that week, you just come to our drop-in session. I never know who will be there. I could have 5 people or I could have 30. I don't know. And I have the test environment open and I share my screen and we dive into their problem. We answer their questions live in the moment. So there's ways to be creative. There's ways to get around teaching, but ultimately I always need technology because I have numerous new hires in a week. So this week I think we have like 13. So there's only so many on our team. We're taking on 3 and 4 each. So I can't be one-on-one with every single person start to finish. I have to give them an assignment. I have to give them a course. I have to give them something to work on while I can be with a different person. So yeah, we love our learning management system.
We've got we might have somebody in the audience But in the before times, her thing was, the 11 o'clock or the 9 o'clock drop in on Friday mornings with food, but you could only get the food if you asked a question.
Donuts?
Yeah. Let's see. Letty or anyone, how do you handle non-exempt employees who access the LMS outside of work hours?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. So just to clarify too, non-exempt, that's salary, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, hourly employees, non-exempt.
Yes, yep. So so we've partnered with HR to come up with a basically a system for that. And so HR basically we approach it as, voluntary training and everything. So they are able to go on and log in outside of work hours from home, both non-exempt and exempt. So HR is agreed to that and everything, and they're on board and support that. So they are very interested in seeing course history reports for those users. They want to see what times and when they're taking training during the day. So if they have a slow day and they and take several courses, they want to see what times, so we definitely work with HR to share that learner data as well.
Okay. I'm just looking through the panel here. Good. What amount of live training do you use versus using the existing content, and who delivers the live training? I think that's the question, is what kind of training do you do, or do you build your own content outside of stuff you bought from a vendor? Go ahead, Christine.
we definitely do. We do both. I would like to say we're at about a 50-50. But the reality is adults, particularly, they learn differently than children. So adults need to take in information at least 3 times, and ideally 3 different ways for it to really sink into them. So ideally, they've got about half of their sessions are live with me. And by live, I mean virtual, but in just one-on-one with me. And about probably about half is watching videos and or learning modules of some sort. So again, not just reading a screen, but clicking, maybe doing a quiz. Again, so the information is sinking in a different way for them. And as well, practice exercises. So maybe it's a third, and a third, but I want to make sure they have one-on-one every single day. But it might only be for an hour, half an hour a day with me. And then I have other things they're doing throughout the day. And then maybe I check in with them at the end of the day to make sure all is well. So I'd like to say it's 50-50, but it's probably a third.
That's great. Is that for existing employees, correct?
Sorry, that was for our onboarding program. Okay. For existing employees, well, everything is pretty much virtual now. So sometimes it's a live webinar. They get that every month for sure. So in a monthly, I would say they have a couple hours a month of live content. And then every second week, we have a firm newsletter that goes out, and my team always has information in that newsletter. So it's a recorded video that we're drawing their attention to, like a quick little tip on, hey, did you know how to do this in Outlook? Or, little tip for like that they could watch the video for 2 minutes, kind of like that Instagram, TikTok, like quick little viral videos, except we're not actually that smart. It's not that entertaining. And then sometimes it's just information in email. So again, even for existing employees, we're mixing it up because they're very busy, full desk workload. They have to fit it in as it works for their schedule. So we don't want too many set scheduled things for them because we'll have low attendance. So if we can send it out to them, get their attention, and then they're going to go back and hit it, watch it, read it, whatever, at their convenience, we'll be more successful.
Mary
Go
Lynn?
ahead. Go ahead, Mary Lynn.
Oh, I was going to say that I used to think I had to do all of the training, classroom training, and I have really evolved to, these quick little, you have a question, let me remote into your computer, in these mini training sessions. I do them all day long, and I just feel like it's so effective. And I used to think I had to create all my e-learning myself, as far as beyond the savvy, if I had something specific that I wanted to do. But nowadays with YouTube and just going to the WebEx site, and there's so many resources that you can grab and upload to your LMS. If there's something already created, I use it. And I think these one-on-one little mini sessions mean so much and have so much value.
Yeah, for sure. Quick clarification question, real quick, and then Letty, you can build on that.
Sure.
With HR, with you building consensus with human resources for the non-exempts, they were paid for that time, yes? Is that tracked through the course completions, or how are the non-exempts paid for their time training while not technically on the clock?
Oh yeah, so HR, basically we set that up through them for the non-exempt, and basically they would be reimbursed and everything for that.
Okay, thank you. And then you had something to add after Mary Lynn. I interrupted, I'm sorry.
Oh yes, definitely. So commenting on the LMS, and also you said about learning live basically versus on the courses. So we really utilize our LMS for kind of both, kind of piggybacking off of what Mary Lynn was talking about, like not reinventing the wheel with resources that are already out there. So we really utilize the courses on our LMS that we've gotten through Savvy, and then also we have use the LMS for uploading custom e-learning modules that relates to our case management software. So I've worked with the business to develop custom courses that are trying to chunk it down so that way, it's 5 to 10 minutes, specific business processes related to that. So we can, send out those automatic enrollment emails, and the employee can just go on, spend a few minutes, learning at that point of need, and then keep going on with their day. So that's not, basically they can just keep, the pace with everything. So that's really helped us a lot.
Excellent. Christine, thank you.
Everything that we're just talking about right now, it really is resonating with me, that flipped learning, that idea of flipped learning and using the technology to our advantage. And I learned that, I don't want to say the hard way, but I almost had to learn it the hard way. Last year, by September, October, last 2020 was just a tough year in general, but by September, October, I was beat. And I was really feeling like I'm just a robot. I'm regurgitating the same information. I just give my spiel about click here, do this. And I was just so drained. And we were working on building a course in LMS, and we needed your staff's help, Doug. Actually, it was your team. My coworker and I were in a Zoom call with your staff, and I just let it slip that I was really frustrated, and I just felt kind of like drained about doing this. And your staff picked up on that right away. And we even kind of felt like maybe technology might be replacing our job. Like, should we rely on courses so much? And I just had some feelings. That was all the feelings going on. And so your staff picked up on that, and they said, well, Christine, have you heard about flipped learning? And no, to be honest, I hadn't. And they sent me this webinar that they were on, and I just gobbled that webinar up, and I rewatched parts of it. And that's exactly really what we're talking about here today, because I don't have to be everything to every new hire or every person I'm training. I don't have to be with them one-on-one from start to finish. And I thought I did. Like, I thought I needed to give this personal, and they have all the warm, fuzzy feelings from me because I'm the greatest trainer. And I had to get over myself, because no, what adults need is the opportunity to learn and take in that knowledge. But they like to do it on their own, in their own way, and get clicking and do it what works for them. So I had to step back. We had to use our learning management system to send them and the modules that we built. Then I could come in and check with them and see where they're at and work with them and do little assignments with them. And they picked up on information so much faster. They're learning the software so much better than if I had sat with them hovering over their shoulder or virtually and being, okay, do this, do this, do this. Now take your notes. It was remarkable the difference it made. And then personally, I had so much more fulfillment in my job. It was much more rewarding to see the growth of these people faster. I'm such a believer of this flipped learning now, but that's really what we're all talking about today, and that resonated with me when you asked that question.
We've got about 10 minutes left, but I probably should have done this in the beginning, and somebody asked a question, so I will ask it now. There's conversations of time and money and resources and resource allocation. I probably should have asked you to say how many employees does your firm have, and how many trainers or help desk, that on that side of the training help desk, because I think it would help. Everyone's in a different place, but it would help the audience understand more where you're coming from, because everyone at a different size, you have different resources. Christine, you want to start this?
Yeah, so with all staff across all our offices, we're about 600 people for literally from everybody. We're at about, I think, 200-ish lawyers. Now, training specialists, there's 4 of us, and we're in 3 locations. The three locations that have the biggest offices, and then we were traveling to the 3 smaller offices, but now we support them virtually. But we have an full IT system, like a help desk for literally the technical aspect. There's 6 or 7 people in that team. We have a solution delivery team. They're business analysts that work on, if we say, look, we're consistently getting this problem, can you help us and come up with a resolution? There's a team of, I think, 5 there that do nothing but do solution delivery. Plus we have managers and then an HR department of 3 people. So yeah, there's a lot of support for us. We all have to work well with each other. But in terms of the actual training and onboarding, it's myself and my 3 coworkers.
Thank you, Christine. Mary Lynn, how about you?
We have just under 300 employees across various cities. I'm the only trainer, and there are 3 help desk gentlemen that answer tickets, and then we have a practice support area with 3 people, and we have a networking team with 3 people. So I see all of the tickets that come in on the help desk. So like I said, I assist on some of them that are, application driven, that I would be better able to answer. And sometimes the guys will send me a ticket if they know I can do it. But that's how many we have. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mary Lynn. Letty?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so we have about 130 employees in our firm, and we're spread across several cities in Arizona, both the northern kind of territory and then the southern as well. And so, and then we have a lot of people who are working from home, obviously, during this time. And so, we also have, for our IT help desk, we have 2 employees at the help desk and myself for support. And then also we have an HR department of about 3 people. And then we have a manager for each kind of group of offices. So we do have a good support network for everyone. And so I can help, I train people, and I also direct any questions with follow-ups to relevant courses on the LMS, send them links, do the course enrollments, and also provide recommendations for if someone wants to learn something, kind of cultivating that path for them.
Okay, thank you. As we get close to wrapping it up, in terms of gauging effectiveness, right? Knowing that, we've all invested, time, money, resources, working virtually and from home, sending computers to people's homes. How in the last, I guess the last 18 months, because I don't want this to be focused just on, the pandemic. But how over the course of, say, the last 4 years, I don't know, how do you gauge or measure the effectiveness of the training programs and the programs as they've sort of changed and weaved and, and pivoted through time? How do you explain up the chain, I guess, of what a great job you're doing? And is it perceived as that as well? No takers? Christine's the first taker.
There's two ways that we do this. One is it's very obvious in the people. You can see it in their body language when they get it. So them being able to actually do the tasks you are telling them to do, that works. We have constant check-ins with their managers, like their lawyer and or their manager. So they're telling us if it worked. If not, oh, they're halfway there, but they're still struggling with this. So we're constantly checking in that way. But we also do a survey through our LMS. We've built a survey in there. So after their experience, they have to go and rate us. And we track, again, because we have this wonderful system that will give us reports on our information. We track the answers to those questions and people's satisfaction and all their comments. Because we find when it comes to management, they want statistics. They want to know, okay, well, how many people did you onboard and what did they think of this, and this? So we have all those questions built into a course, and we can see what people's satisfaction rating was that we can present every month to management. So they know our statistics. And then the proof is in the pudding in the way the employees are behaving and accomplishing their goals and how well the firm is doing.
Thank you, Christine. Mary Lynn?
I tend to do a lot with the end user, and just asking them directly. I'll follow up with them after. Let's say they asked a question during a session, and I'll follow up with them after and say, okay, let's talk about it. Did you implement that? Are you doing it? Oh, no, Mary Lynn, not yet, because I didn't have time. No, let's do it. And even if we need to do it again, it's just talking to them and I'm that learning curve again. And I'll say, yes, it's going to take you maybe a little bit longer initially, but you've got to give yourself that chance to get over that hurdle. And I feel like I have a rapport with the users that, we can have that dialogue, and I can have that dialogue with their attorneys too when there's something not quite right and they need to learn something.
Awesome. Thank you. Letty?
Yes, absolutely. So we look at help desk tickets, one of our metrics for that. So according to certain topics. So for example, like importing files from a CD, like are we, after our training, are we getting more questions on that, less questions, and seeing who those questions are coming from. That can be a nice metric, and seeing how we're doing with training on that certain topic. So we've definitely looked at that as well, and also kind of what you're saying as well, Mary Lynn, working with the user directly and gauging their skills versus asking them like, oh, show me how you're doing this, and working with them to try to improve their process and also recommend training.
Awesome. There are a bunch of questions in the question panel that we did not get to, but in the interest of time, we'll go through those later and get back to the individuals who asked. I just want to say thank you. What a terrific panel, and thank you sincerely for sharing your stories and the lessons learned and specific details of your entire experience. And to the ILTA audience, thank you all very much for being here. I hope that this session was informative and a good use of your time. If anybody has any direct questions for me, just shoot me an email and we can discuss. But Letty, Christine, Mary Lynn, Thank you all so much for doing this. We really appreciate it. Everybody out there, have a great day and afternoon and evening. We'll talk to you later. Bye now.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.